Morning, everyone. Welcome to the authority meeting, 11th of July, and AGM. I don't normally chair authority meetings, but as is standard at this time of year, we no longer have a chair, and our first task is to elect a new chair. So I'll just take us through that process. But we do have a couple of apologies that I'll just announce. And bear in mind, we changed the date of the AGM during the year, so some people already had travel plans for this particular day, so it's not their fault that they're not here if they were pre-existing plans. But we have apologies from Janet Dugdale, Chris O'Leary and Mike Chaplin. Any other apologies we need to note? Okay. Warm welcome to new members. Here we've got a few new members. I haven't actually met you in face-to-face yet, so very, very warm welcome here. We have received one expression of interest to stand as chair, which is for Ken Smith. Are there any other proposals or nominations for a chair? Okay, so is there
I'd like to nominate.
a nominator? Thank you. And do we have a seconder? Charles, thank you. Okay, so members will put that to a vote. All those in favour of Ken Smith as chair, please raise your hands. Okay, any abstentions? Anyone against? Okay, that's unanimous. Thanks very much. And I will now pass over to the new chair. Thank you.
Thanks, Phil. Hey ho. Where are we? Right. Oh, thank you very much, members. Much appreciated. I hope your confidence in me isn't misplaced at any point during the year, though I can't guarantee anything, of course. It all depends on other circumstances is my only excuse, and I'm sticking to it. So welcome again to our new members. I'll just run through the names because some might crop up during the process of election to various posts and committees. There's Nick Adams, who I don't think is with us, and Melandra Smith, who also I don't think is with us. Simon Mabbott. Simon, welcome. And Charlotte Kelly at the back, but that's no criticism, no critical comment. Thank you. Welcome. In that case, I think, members, if I sort my paperwork, we can move on to the election of the Deputy Chair of the Authority. And if I can once again find my place, we have one nomination, one name, which is Janet Dugdale, for the post of Deputy Chair of the Authority. Are there any other candidates who wish to put themselves forward at this meeting? If not, could I have a nominee? Andy Nash, thank you very much. And seconder, Ken Rustage, thank you very much. All those in favour of Janet Dugdale, any against? Any abstentions? That's unanimous, so thank you, members. We can now move on to item 4 on the agenda, which is the minutes of previous meetings held on the 9th of May and the 20th of June. If we can take those of the 9th of May first, are there any corrections that need to be made on those minutes? If there aren't, can I have someone to recommend that? Charles, thank you. A seconder? Ruth, thank you very much. And all those in favour of accepting those minutes? Thank you. Any against? Any abstentions? In that case, we just move on to the minutes of the 20th of June. Again, are there any corrections to be made to those? I would point out in minute 59:25, I beg your pardon, that's the previous ones. I do beg your pardon, members. Minute 59:25, a minor point, but Jane Butler is referred to in paragraphs 3 and 5. Her name is Jayne. If we could just make sure it's spelled correctly. I hope that doesn't jeopardise the approval of those minutes, members. Minutes of the 20th of June, they are brief. Any comments, corrections rather? Can I have a proposer for those accepting those? Ken Richardson, thank you. Seconder, Martin Beer. All those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you, members. That's unanimous. We move on in that case. Item 5 on the agenda. I've not been informed of any urgent business, nor have I been informed of any public participation, which is agenda item 6. Members' declarations of interest, item 7. Do members wish to make any declarations of interest? Ruth Swetnam.
I declare an interest in item 13 as a trustee of the District National Park Foundation.
Okay, thank you. Andrew Gregory?
And the same for me.
Thank you, Andrew. Our other representative, if members remember, I think we do have 3 reps, was James Beresford, whose period of tenure as a Secretary of State member finished on the 30th of June, so James, that's why James isn't with us today. If we can move on then to agenda item 8, which is the report of the member appointment process panel. I'd like to thank those members and officers who undertaken the deliberations that have resulted in this report and its various recommendations. I'm proposing to go through the suite of appointments and then take the recommendations as a block at the end, unless anyone tells me that.
Do you want to do number 1 first?
I'll do number. That's one of. Okay.
Set the size.
Right. So I've been advised that we need to take, or we should take, recommendation 1 first, and then we'll go through the appointments and take the remainder as a block. So can I have someone to nominate the first recommendation, please? Patrick, thank you very much. Patrick Brady. Martin Beer, seconded. All those in favour? Thank you, members. Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you. That's been moved. So we'll move into the body of the process, which is we start with the appointment of Chair and Vice Chair of Planning Committee. There is one nomination for the Chair of Planning Committee, Patrick Brady. Does anyone wish to put themselves forward from the floor, as it were? If not, could I have a nominee, Andrew Hart, and seconder, Ian Huddleston? Thank you. Show of hands then. All those in favour? Thank you. Any against? Any abstentions? No. So Patrick is elected as Chair of Planning Committee. Or I assume, Patrick, therefore you're withdrawing your nomination for the Vice Chair position.
I say no, Chairman, but I would say yes.
I think procedurally we would have to take you outside and twist an arm or two. But thank you for avoiding that. Which means that for Vice Chair of Planning Committee we have one nomination, Ginny Priestley, unless anyone wishes to put their name forward. Proposed by Patrick Brady, seconded by Andrew Hart. All those in favour? Any against? Any abstention? So congratulations, Ginny, back in the warm seat. Resources Committee then, we have one nomination again for Chair, Charles Greaves. Anyone wishing to put their name forward from the floor? Thank you. So a nominee, Ginny, and seconder Ken Rustage. Thank you. All those in favour of Charles chairing Resources, thank you. Any against? Any abstentions? Was that was a residual hand, was it, Andrew? Residual. Yeah, thank you. So congratulations, Charles. You're in that particular hot seat. And then we have one nomination for Vice Chair, it's Andy Nash. Anyone wishing to put their name forward from the floor? If not, can I have a proposer, Charles, and seconder Ruth Swetnam? Thank you. All those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you. This is going swimmingly. Thank you, members. It won't last, of course. So we move on to the appointment of committees, steering groups, panels and advisory groups, starting with Planning Committee. There is one vacancy to be filled by a member from another local authority, thanks to Cheshire East member. Melandra Smith has indicated that she's more than happy to be nominated as or have her name put forward as that the member to fill that vacancy. So we have a full house, as it were. So I think we have to have a show of hands, do we not?
We need to have a,
Nomination?
yeah.
Yeah, so you have a proposer. Simon, thank you. A seconder? Charles, thank you. All those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? It's all right. It's all right. I recognise. I recognise the slow. I recognise the slow reaction, Lee. It's all right. It's the. No, I won't say that. So that's Planning Committee dealt with. Resources Committee is next. We have, as you can see, 5 vacancies. The proposal for the Secretary of State members is that our 2 Secretary of State vacancies, when appointed to, and that process is is going on. We hope to hear probably next month, but we're proposing that those 2 appointees will be to the Resources Committee, and that the 3 vacancies for local authority members will be filled by Nick Adams, Charlotte Kelly and Simon Mabbott, who have, I think, indicated their willingness to be put forward for those posts. So we're not strong-arming them. So on that basis, members, could I have someone to propose? Charles, thank you. Seconded by Ken Rustage, thank you. All those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you, members. So that's Resources Committee sorted. Congratulations to all involved in both those committees. Local Joint Committee, for which there is 1 local authority member. I don't know if anyone wishes to put their names forward. I would say it's not an onerous position, insofar as I don't think the committee has met for at least the last 3 years, and that's not an indicator of its inappropriateness. It's more the case that it only meets if there's a real problem that can't be sorted through the normal processes. And thankfully, over the last few years, that hasn't happened. Any issues have been resolved earlier in the process. So, if that isn't sufficient carrot, I don't know what is. Fancy being appointed to a committee that doesn't meet. Ken Rustage, are you volunteering? Excellent. Thank you, Ken. I hoped someone would take the bait. I just hope it doesn't mean that we have to meet for the night for the best possible reasons. So on that basis, can I have a proposer for the membership? Charles, and second to Ginny. All those in favour? Thank you. Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you, members. It's going far too well. Appeals panel, there is 1 Secretary of State vacancy. I don't know that the appeals panel has met very much.
We have met once in the last year.
Has met once in the last year, so it's beating the local joint committee. But it isn't, I think, or hasn't been to date, an onerous responsibility. Do we have any Secretary of State member who might wish to have their name added? It's not Bill Hanley. Thank you very much, Bill. On that basis, the names as in the report, but with the addition of Bill as a Secretary of State member, could I have someone to propose that? Charles, and Martin seconded. Thank you. So all those in favour? Show of hands. Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you, members. That's unanimous again. The Investigatory and Disciplinary Committee, as you can see, that's rather thinly populated, but I don't think that has... No, that also is one of those committees that only has to meet in extremis, obviously, and we haven't got to that point. But there are 2 vacancies for both local authority membership and Secretary of State members. Does anyone wish to have their name added to the list? Jean Warmby, thank you, Jean. And Yvonne, sorry?
Jean Warby is already on the, you can't be on the appeals panel and the investigation.
In that case, I'm sorry, Jean, you're being put forward for the appeals panel, or you're on the appeals panel, you can't be on both. No, sorry, but thank you nevertheless. Rachel Bennett as a Secretary of State member. Yvonne, did I see your? Yep, and Yvonne Witter as another Secretary of State member. So there's a couple of vacancies for local authority members if they were so minded to put their name forward. Ken Rustage.
Yeah, I'll do it if no one else
Okay, thank you, Ken. It's a bit like the pass at Thermopylae, I think. Yeah. Sorry. Any other local authority member wish to put their... I was going to say head in the noose. What I meant was put themselves forward. No? Oh, Matt. Thank you very much, Matt. Matt Buckler. So we have a full complement for the Investigator and Disciplinary Committee. Can I have a proposer for that? Charles and Lee. Thank you. Seconded. All those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you, members. That's unanimous. We move on now to other appointments. The due diligence panel. We have one member proposed, Janet Dugdale, as the member rep. We have a vacancy for the deputy. Again, it's not a particularly onerous. It does meet from time to time.
On an ad hoc basis when we need to.
Yeah. So, but again, it's not a particularly onerous one, and the deputy is just that. It's to support the member if that member can't attend, or just to bounce around issues. So, anyone wish to put themselves forward as deputy to Janet? If not, okay. Rachel, you okay? Right. I like the way that there's an initial reluctance and then a flood of and then arguments as to where. Oh no, after you. No, after you. Indeed, it's what makes us what we are, and I won't go any further into that. So on the basis that the member rep will be Janet Dugdale and the deputy will be Rachel Bennett, can I have a proposer? Charles, thank you, and Ginny as seconder. All those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you, members. Now, Governance Review Working Group. That seems to be, well, there's a local authority member vacancy. So if anyone wishes to put themselves forward as a local authority member. Ken Rustage, thank you. You don't have to volunteer for everything, Ken, but it's appreciated nevertheless. Yep, indeed. We have, I think, 2, 4, 6, 7 Secretary of State members who put their names forward, but there are only 4 vacancies. So that means that we're going to have to go to a vote, unless...
I'm happy to withdraw from this.
Martin has withdrawn his nomination. Are any of the others willing to, or rather wishing to withdraw? It's not mandatory, withdrawal. So we have to go to a vote in that case. Now, as I understand it, there are the voting cards in front of you. We'll go with the top one, the red one. Are you sure? Okay, thank you. Oh, right, okay. That's Nick Adams.
Yes.
Yeah. No, you don't need to withdraw, Ken, because you're the local authority member. It's the Secretary of State. Yeah, you carry on. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 6 names on the list for 4 posts. So my understanding of the process is, members, that you write on the red piece of paper your preferred candidate or candidates?
Just one.
Just one.
Just one.
And then the top 4 go forward?
We'll do it again. If there's no overall majority, we have to get the one with the lowest gets knocked off the list, and then we keep going until we have.
Did you hear that, members? It's an arcane process, but we put forward one name. The names are totted up. The one with the least votes drops off, and then we go through the process all over again until we've got the 4 member reps, Secretary of State member reps on the thing. So, if you can write your preferred candidate's name on the red paper, they will be collected, and then they will be totted up. This is where the time gets taken up. Yeah. It's that's what it preferred candidate. Yeah. I hope they understand that. Yeah, yeah. But if you put 4 names there, it'll be even more complicated to add up.
We're not going to cheat.
Oh, what? Yep. She said she got to go at 11:30. Can you add that? Yes. Yes, you said. And what's the meeting Chancellor Okay. I think that's appropriate to do, isn't it? Yeah. Members, while we're awaiting the count, Kath has just had a word with me, and she has a meeting, Chatsworth at midday today, with Highways and Roseley Parish Council and Chatsworth about the landslip at Beeley, and she's asked if anyone has any views or issues about that, comments that they would wish to raise. Can you just jot it down on a piece of paper and hand it to her, because she'll be leaving at 11:30 to attend that meeting. So it's just an opportunity, if you are moved by that issue, to make your feelings or thoughts available to Kath so that she can relay them. Thank you, members. And relax whilst the count continues.
Make use of some time.
The initials.
Yes. Sign the back one. So that was the first. Oh, that one just needs a date on it then. And then the others are initials until the end. I have made that amendment to change.
Page?
Yeah, initial each page. Yeah, so I can't go back and change anything.
It's all right.
25, the one that's saying it's not the uniform at all. It's like 24.
Blimey.
I'm going to make them a lot shorter from now on.
Please. There you go. You get Roger's grant. All right.
You've achieved. Nick Adams didn't vote. Yeah, there's 25 members here. Nick Adams is.
It's nothing personal. I'm just new to the bell.
We're very short. Somebody. Is there anything in that box? Anything in the box?
Well, if we take it as an abstention.
Yes, 22. Yeah, 22 papers. Okay, so the person to be excluded is Bill Hanley with one vote. So then we go again with everybody else. So
Okay.
did you want to announce and then ask everybody to vote again, but for Ginny, Patrick, Janet, yourself and Simon Thompson. So if they vote again, but excluding Bill, that was only one vote. So.
Right. Right, members. The votes are in, as they say, on the telly. Unfortunately, inevitably there's going to be some who aren't elected. The person with the fewest votes, I have to sadly announce, Bill, is the person who has to drop out from the list. I now, members, have to ask you to vote again against the list that you have, but minus the name of Bill Hanley. So you'll be voting for Ginny Priestley, Patrick Brady, Janet Dugdale, me, Ken Smith, and Simon Thompson. So if you can, on the light blue paper, put a name down as your preferred candidate, and then we go through this process all over again. Thank you very much.
Then we'll have 4, so we'll be fine then.
Actually, to have got, it's only 10:30, to have got this far through this particular agenda, we're doing pretty damn well.
Good. Well, remember last year we had a vote on the planning committee, didn't we?
Yeah. I think it's a result of too few members putting themselves forward for positions, because there are vacancies, so we don't have to go through the voting process.
No, it's good.
Oh, I'm not complaining.
You're going to be all right moving out if you're the one who's knocked off the list.
Oh yeah, I lost in being the Standish Forum rep last year. Went to Charlotte, who isn't standing this year, so whether she's not been to any of them, I don't know.
It's pretty important this year. The North Lees lottery bid.
Well, it's Bill and Ginny put themselves forward, but there's a member and deputy. I mean, we can elect them, but they have to sort out themselves who's the member and who's the deputy. I'm not going to do that. Not for all the other ones as well. It's the downside of not being one. All right. Yep.
Yeah, that's
Okay. All right, members. Again, the results are in, and on this occasion, the unlucky person, I'm afraid, is Janet Dugdale. So she will have to stand down from the Governance Review Working Group, which means that the Secretary of State members are Ginny Priestley, Patrick Brady, myself and Simon Thompson. So congratulations to those who have been appointed, commiserations to those who haven't. So thank you for participating in that process. And we move on to the Local Plan Review Member Steering Group, for which there are vacancies for 9 members. There is 1 vacancy remaining. So again, if anyone wishes to put themselves... Charlotte Farrell, thank you very much. Charlotte Farrell. What?
Vote for Charlotte.
I thought for the whole lot.
Oh, yes, sorry. Yes.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it's all right.
I'm jumping the gun.
Too damn right.
Sorry.
It's all right. I can make a note, don't worry. Just colleagues getting ahead of themselves, damn it. Could I have a proposer for the names as written in the report and the addition of Charlotte Farrell? Charles, thank you very much. And Lee as seconder, thank you. All those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you, members. That's unanimous. Member appointments process panel then. We have 4 names put forward, 2 local authority members, 2 Secretary of State, and we have a vacancy for each. Again, are there any members who wish to put themselves forward as a local authority representative? Right. Okay, that's noted, don't worry. Charlotte? Oh, thank you very much. So that's Charlotte Farrell as local authority. And any Secretary of State member who might wish to put themselves forward for that process panel. It's all right, my pen's falling apart. Beg your pardon? Oh, sorry, Rachel. It was a very timorous...
I thought it was to see if anyone else
Okay, Rachel has, with enthusiasm, put her name forward. So on the basis of the names as written, with Charlotte Farrell as the additional local authority member and Rachel Bennett as the additional Secretary of State, and I would suggest that, yes, that's the 6 members. There is supposed to be 2 representatives and 2 reserves. Charlotte and Rachel, are you unhappy to be the reserves, or do you wish to, because you're going to have to sort that out amongst yourselves otherwise? Okay? Yes, yeah. Treat it as that, you'll be okay. So in that case, Ken Richardson, Ken Rustage would be the authority member reps, and Ruth Swetnam and Yvonne Witter would be the Secretary of State reps, with Charlotte and Rachel as their respective reserves. Can I have someone to propose that, please? Charles, thank you. He keeps getting in ahead of everyone else, and seconded by Martin and Martin Beer. All those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you, members. Appointments to outside bodies now. Item D in the paperwork. Campaign for National Parks. Matt Buckler is put forward as the member. There is scope for 2 deputies. If anyone wishes, Simon Thompson, thank you. Anyone else wish to put themselves forward? Ken Rustage, thank you. So that's the 2 vacancies as deputies. So all those in, can I have a proposer for that, please? Ruth Swetnam, Lee Hartshorn as seconder. All those in favour? Thank you. Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you. East Midlands Councils, member and deputy, 2 names, Janet Dugdale and Bill Hanley. Can I have a proposer for those? Matt Buckler, thank you, and seconder Andy Nash. All those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you, members. It's for Janet and Bill to sort out who is the member and who is the deputy, I would suggest. I can only go so far in organising things. Europark, one member. Andy Nash has been put forward. Proposer, Matt Buckler. Thank you, Matt. Seconder, Rachel. All those in favour, members? Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you. That's Andy elected. Derbyshire Archaeological Advisory Committee, there's one name, that's me, I'm afraid. Can I have a proposer? Rachel, thank you. Ken Rustage is seconder. All those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you. We'll get there eventually. South Yorkshire Mayoral Combined Authority, there's vacancies for both a member and a deputy. Do we have any members who wish to put themselves forward for this? We could, if we wished, I suppose, nominate Mike Chaplin in his absence, but that would probably be naughty, unless some other member mentioned it.
I'd like to nominate Mike Chaplin.
Thank you, Ginny, and thank you, Andrew. I couldn't possibly understand how that happened, but any nominations for or anyone wish to volunteer to be deputy? In that case, we're voting just on Mike Chaplin being our South Yorkshire Mayoral Combined Authority rep. All those in favour? Sorry, I need a proposer. I forgot. Lee, thank you, and Martin as seconder. All those in favour? Thank you. Any abstentions? Any against? Thank you. That's Mike that's Mike appointed. Peak District National Park Foundation, 3 members and 2 reserves. And there's 1 vacancy amongst the members who put themselves forward. Does anyone else wish to put themselves forward to be represented on the foundation? In that case, we have those 4 names. Can I have a proposer? Anyone going to propose?
We've got a shortage.
Yeah. Okay.
Ken's already on.
Oh, you're already on, Ken. It's obviously slipped your mind that you did that. No, I do beg your pardon. Okay, so just for those who are slow at reading, the 4 are Janet Dugdale, Ken Rustage, Kath Potter, and Ruth Swetnam. Anyone else wish to add their name to that? Andrew?
Not adding my name, but can I just say a couple of words for the benefit of new members about the foundation and encourage people to put their name forward?
By all means.
As a serving trustee who's stepping down for the foundation, I think it's fair to say that the foundation is very keen to have a full complement of trustees, and that complement should be diverse as well. So those persons in the room who are that little bit younger than me, for example, would be welcome to step forward. And I think I can say on behalf of all of the existing trustees that more diversity, as I said, younger people, more people getting involved in the foundation will be encouraged from the body in this room. So if I may, I would encourage another appointee put their hand up. As I said, I'm stepping down. Those are probably my final words, Chair, as I'm part of the foundation.
But I've heard worse final words, but thank you, Andrew. On that basis, anyone wish to take the...
Chairman, I'm not volunteering. I'm going to suggest, given what Andrew's just said, if we wait a bit, because Melandra Smith isn't here, and she is youngish compared with some of us here anyway. I wonder whether she might be a possible candidate. It might be worth exploring around after the meeting.
Okay, I mean, I'm not familiar with the foundation's electoral process. Oh, Chloe? Sorry, Charlotte?
I don't mind doing it.
Right, thank you. I'll say no more, and I shall just bite your hand off, as it were.
I'm getting stared at a lot.
Right, it's the... okay, Ruth Swetnam.
Thank you, Chair. Just for the benefit of
of new members who might not know, the foundation meets in the evenings at Alden House, usually from 7 till 9 p.m. on a Thursday evening, just to make, to help out with people making a decision about that.
Right. Too late now, Ruth. Charlotte's volunteered. Okay, so on that basis, members, can I have someone to propose the list with the addition of Charlotte's name? Ginny, thank you very much, and Ken Richardson seconded. On that basis, all those in favour? Thank you, members. Any abstentions? Any against? That's passed. It's for those 5 need to sort amongst themselves who are the 3 members and who are the reserves. Like I say, I rely on folk doing that within by next Friday, if possible, please, as also with the previous one, so that we can move forward. National Parks England, that's the chair of the authority, as is the National Parks Partnership, so that's falls to me. Derwent Valley Community Rail Partnership, we're into partnerships now. We have 2 vacancies for a member and a deputy. Is anyone willing to put themselves? Simon, thank you very much. That's Simon Mabbott as the member rep. I suggest, unless there's a someone wishing to put themselves forward also. So, okay, Simon, on that basis, can I have a proposer? Charles, thank you, seconder. Nick, thank you very much. So, on that basis, members, Simon Mabbott as the Derwent Valley Community Rail Partnership rep. All those in favour? Thank you very much. Any abstentions? Any against? Thank you. That's sorted. High Peak and Hope Valley Community Rail Partnership. 2 names have been put forward for member and deputy, Martin Beer and Bill Hanley. Can I have a proposer? Andy Nash, thank you. Ken Rustage as seconder. All those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? For Martin and Bill to sort out who is the member and deputy and let us know, please. Most of the Future Partnership Group, chair, deputy chair and 1 reserve. Ginny Priestley is the one name in the box. She is the current chair of Most of the Future, but there is obviously a vacancy for deputy and a reserve. Does anyone wish to put their name forward for either?
I'll put my name forward as a reserve.
Okay, so Matt Buckler as reserve.
I put my name forward as the other one.
And Martin as the other one, or deputy chair as it's written. So on that basis, Ginny Priestley as chair, Martin Beer as deputy chair and Matt Buckler as reserve. Can I have a proposer for that, please? Ruth Swetnam, thank you. Andrew Hart seconded. All those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you. Peak District Partnership, 1 member and 1 deputy. We have a 1 name for deputy, Andy Nash. Patrick?
To save me having to say again next year, it's never met. I'll happily withdraw my name.
Okay, thank you, Patrick. In that case, we have a member rep as Ken Rustage and deputy as Andy Nash, on the basis that this is another partnership that never meets, just like some of the committees, for all good reasons, I'm sure. Could I have a proposer? Charles Greaves. Matt, did you second it? Thank you. All those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you. Staffordshire Destination Management Partnership. We have 2 vacancies for a member and a deputy. Is anyone willing to put their name forward for? Going. I think this is, unless anyone wishes to put that.
I volunteer.
Charlotte, you're doing very well responding to the pressure. Charlotte's put herself forward as our member rep. Do we have anyone wishing to be nominated as deputy? If not, it looks like it's all on your shoulders, Charlotte. But on that basis, could I have someone to propose Charlotte as our rep? Andy Nash, thank you. Andrew Hart has seconded. All those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? It's the sense of relief at people not having the names put forward that begins to permeate some of the processes. Other meetings, groups and fora, then the Derbyshire Local Nature Recovery Strategy Board and Staffordshire Local Nature Recovery Strategy Steering Group. Janet Dugdale has put her name forward, in which case I can see no one else wishes to challenge that. So could I have a proposer? Simon Mabbott, thank you, and seconder Matt Buckler. All those in favour? Thank you, members. Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you. Land Managers Forum. We have vacancies for a chair, deputy chair and 2 members, and we have 4 vacancies. It's quite an important group. I'm not sure quite how often it meets, but not often.
Not being aware of all the processes, but probably appropriate for me to go on.
Okay, thank you, Nick. So we have one and Rachel, Nick and Rachel. Any other members wish to put themselves forward? Charlotte Farrell. That leaves 1 vacancy. Anyone wishing to? Well done, Lee Hartshorn. So we have a full house. I rely on the 4 of you to get together and decide who is the chair, deputy chair, and so on, and let us know, please. That can only be organised so far. Anyway, could I have a proposer for that arrangement, please? Simon, thank you, and seconder Ginny. All those in favour? Thank you. Any against? Any abstentions? That's that. Peak District Local Access Forum. We have 2 nominations. One for member, Martin Beer, and Andy Nash as deputy. Can I have a proposer for that? Rachel, thank you, and Andrew Gregory as seconder. All those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you. Almost there, members. Peak District Local Nature Partnership. 1 member and 1 deputy. You have Matt Buckler as the member, and we have a vacancy for a deputy. Rachel Bennett, thank you very much. On that basis, can I have a proposer for that? Ruth Swetnam, thank you. Lee Hartshorn as seconder. All those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you. And finally, Stanage Forum Steering Group. 1 member and 1 deputy. We have 2 names, Bill Hanley and Ginny Priestley. Can I have a proposer for those names? Andrew Hart, thank you. Ken Rustage as seconder. All those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? I leave it to the 2 of you to sort out who is the member and who is the deputy, and to let us know, please. Okay. On that basis, members, if we go back to the recommendations, we have... Yeah. Yeah, it's on the screen behind me, as well as in the paperwork or digital that you have. We have gone through with duly appointed, as per recommendations, 2, 3, 4, 5, and yeah, we've done those 2 through to 5, and then items recommendation 6 is to confirm all these appointments as approved duties. So could I have a proposal? Charles Greaves, thank you. A seconder for those recommendations? Martin Beer. All those in favour, members? Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you very much indeed. That is item 8 concluded in what I suspect is record time. So that's just for future reference. We move on. I propose to have a comfort break for everyone at 11 o'clock, so just 10 minutes time, if we can move on through the agenda to that point. So agenda item 9 is the members' annual attendance report. It is as written. As we're assuming that everyone has read the report. Are there any comments or questions? Bill Hanley. It's not on your phone. Microphone isn't on. Is anyone's? It's not, the red light hasn't. Oh well. Who else is? Anyone has? Yeah. Can you put that one off, Martin? Thank you. There you go. You're on now, Bill.
So I mentioned a while ago, and I
I know it's referenced in the report, but where there was a number of occasions where meetings were changed or additional meetings added, and I can't see how that, it would be a very simple way to reflect that in the stats by where members felt they didn't have adequate notice, already had prior commitments, to just remove that requirement from the scheduled column and then they could either have attended the 100% or whatever percentage. But I don't, at the moment, I can't see how the figures reflect the fact that I know for a fact that on several occasions I couldn't attend because I was available for the initial meeting and then couldn't attend the replacement one. So it seems a very easy solution, that. And in terms of the stats, then you get some robust stats at the end of it. So of the ones I could attend, I attended, for the sake of argument, 4 out of 5, not 4 out of 6. So that, and I have mentioned that, but I don't think these stats reflect that.
Yeah, I think it's reflected in the report. I specifically asked for that to be in there. But Angela, have you any comment to make on Bill's comment?
Only that we've tried to reflect this by separating out the special meetings in the actual statistics. I mean, maybe it might be a good idea for us to have a conversation outside, because I know we've done this in response to your conversation. So if we've not quite hit that, let's have a conversation after this meeting and we can try and get it right for you. Thank you. But I mean, from a legal perspective, obviously, we have to say all of the meetings that have been held, and we have to report on which members have attended those meetings. So I don't think you're arguing with that point, are you? It's just how it's presented. So we can sort that out. Thank you.
And I think in defence as well, that that schedule of itself wouldn't go in cold. It would be accompanied by explanation. So the explanation would be why those special meetings are so defined and why there are some members who weren't able to attend, I would suggest. But yeah, if you guys can speak outside the meeting, then we can get that sorted. Allay your concerns, I hope. Are there any other comments or questions? If not, the recommendation is before you, members. Can I have a proposer? Anyone? Patrick and Simon as seconder. Thank you very much. All those in favour of adopting the report? Or any against? Any abstentions? Thank you, members. That's agenda item 9 dealt with. We move on in that case to agenda item 10, the annual calendar of meetings for next year. Again, the report is before you, as is the schedule of meetings. I'm aware that before I ask for comments from members, I'm aware that some members have expressed some concern that meetings in October fall within half term. That is recognised, but at the same time, the schedule of meetings has been put together within an overall set of parameters that require some of the financial reportage, and it's difficult to change the schedule as it is because it will impact on other meetings. There'll be a cascade effect effectively. So whilst we recognise that it might be difficult for some members to get because of half term, we also recognise that different parts of the country have different dates for half term, which of itself complicates matters even further. So whilst it may be difficult, I would ask members to grit their teeth on this one and pursue the schedule of meetings as portrayed in the report. On the back of that, I'm quite happy for members to express their concern. Does anyone have any comments or questions?
Chairman, I'm happy to move it.
Thank you, Patrick. Moved by Patrick Brady. Seconder, Andy Nash. In that case, if there are no further comments, can I have a show of hands? All those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you, members. Yeah, okay. I know I said we would take a break at 11 o'clock, but having got to where we are with the Chief Exec's report next, I think it most appropriate that we deal with that afresh when we reconvene. So I'm proposing that we take a comfort break now, members, and reconvene If I said 5 past on that clock, I know fine well it would be 10 past before everybody got here. So we will definitely start at 10 past 11. So thank you, members, for your contributions to date, and we'll take a short break. Thank you. We're in 60 seconds behind the schedule. Sue, would you mind seeing about shutting those boardroom doors? Thank you. Right, members, we're on to agenda item 11. In fact, I was getting ahead of myself with the Chief Exec's report, but before we start, a late arrival at the authority ball, Nick Adams, who was held up by a road closure because of a road accident, but Nick is, again, one of our new members. I introduced the other new members earlier, Nick, just for your benefit, but Nick's already participated, but I thought a formal introduction would be most appropriate. So we have next Services Showcase presentation. Over to Phil Mulligan, our Chief Exec.
Right, great. I'm going to stand up and present this from here. It's a real pleasure to be able to go through this showcase. It was something we introduced last year at the AGM, and it's a keeper because for me what it does is it takes the members, of whom we ask a lot of time, we ask you to come to a lot of meetings, we ask you to read a lot, we ask you to do some quite procedural stuff like you've done this morning, and sometimes I feel there's a gap between actually the outcomes for all those decisions you make, all that thinking you do, what actually happens, and we often don't get to show you that. So today is about showcasing what has happened during the year. Now it is a highlights reel, so there's some really great stuff that isn't here, and that's no reflection on the quality of the work or the people involved, but we've just had to be selective. And in her absence, I'd like to thank Victoria Peel, who put the show reel together. But really, it's all the staff and the volunteers, who are incredibly passionate, hard-working, and they're out there delivering your vision and your decision-making. They're turning it into reality. They're turning it into action. We're going to give you a bit of a flavour of that now. First of all, though, the overall performance, you see stuff like this in these meetings, so I won't focus on this. But overall, in terms of the partnership, the management plan partnership, how have we done in the last year? Well, you can see from the colour of that donut there, pretty well, really. But I won't go into all of that detail because that's the kind of stuff that comes to members normally. I'm going to pick out some of the highlights, some of the things we've done. More recently, you have been familiar with the Tourism Charter. So really fantastic after a year or 2 years of talking about it, and James Beresford, no longer a member now, has really led the charge on getting something down to address some of the capacity issues and the management challenges with partners. We've got the charter agreed by the members, we're going out now to the partners, we're getting people signed up, and we've got a workshop plan to do the action planning for that. So that's really great progress. Oh. Press. Ah. Let's just stop working. It's this one. Yeah, there we go, that's that. That's that. Okay, charter, next one. I can do it, you're right. So, if you remember, last year it was the 75th anniversary of the legislation that created national parks. So we had a celebration event. We were the first national park created. What was lovely is Lewis Silkin was the minister at the time who really put forward the legislation. And we had some of the descendants of Lewis Silkin who live locally come in and help us celebrate this alongside our trainees through the training academy. And it was a lovely event. We had a wonderful cake made by Deborah Cox, who's a local baker and fan. And it was just really nice to recognise that moment in history, but with our trainees looking forward to the future as well. One thing you may not be aware of is the extent to which this national park and the staff here provide leadership to the whole national park family. And I just want to showcase a bit of that. Also, because of our central location in the country and because of what we have to offer, the variety and the scale, we host a lot of visits here. You may not see this, but it's an awful lot of work that we do to deliver. So the National Landscapes Association a year ago, we were here showing them the work on Worslow and the Roaches. National Parks Partnership, the body that we own as national parks to help get big kind of corporate commercial partnerships in place, we host a lot of their visits. We had, as you will know, the chairs and the CEOs of all the UK national parks gathered here recently. We then have a number of officer or staff groups where across all the national parks the leads come together, and we provide a lot of leadership. Sue Fletcher in this case leading role in the Agricultural and Rural Development Group, and that group's been really key. That's been a group that's been a sounding board and an advisor to DEFRA on things like the creation and implementation and extension of FIPL. So really impactful stuff. Sue's in amongst that group, providing leadership, experience and knowledge, and helping get really positive outcomes for the national parks. Transport affects every national park. We have Tim Nicholson here providing leadership for that group of officers who come together, sharing best practice, but also doing things like agreeing memorandums of understanding at a national level with people like Highways England, also working on things like the consultation to the land use framework, and helping get the money that we got for active travel. We have Sue Smith in Access, providing leadership within the group of access officers across all 15 national parks. Again, sharing knowledge, but we all have roles as statutory access authorities, our rights of way powers, the local access forums that we all run, and the active travel engagement. So Sue's provide great leadership here with this group. Historic environment officers, Anna Badcock, in our cultural heritage team. This is an example of those officers coming together nationally, sharing best practice. We went to the Sill up on Hadrian's Wall, the award-winning visitor centre, and we saw the Sycamore Gap. We saw Hadrian's Wall's wetland landscape recovery project. We have our own landscape recovery project here. It was great to see that. The National Trust Wallington Estate, historic designed landscape on a huge scale, where vistas of 3 miles were created in the 18th century, and how is that being interpreted now? Ingram Valley, with farm businesses there, with barn restorations, and the Anglo-Saxon Museum that's been built at a distillery is a really great innovation within the national park, taking what was an old depot for trucks, kind of getting rid of that, building an iconic building, a museum visitor centre. Simon, leading on the officers who do our information, and it's really important here. We're bombarded with requests for information, with data. How do we interpret that? How do we agree it? Things like the outcomes framework, the targets framework, really vital, and Simon's played a really leading role in trying to make sure all of that data is understood, consistent, giving us what we need, giving government what they need. Climate Change Officers Group, I provide some leadership from the English National Parks here. A year or so ago, all 15 national parks signed up to the Race to Zero, which involved 5 Ps where we pledged to try and get to zero. We've got plans in place, we're publishing those plans, and we're persuading others in the partnership to try and help reduce emissions. We also submit to the Carbon Disclosure Project annually, and we are now moving into the adaptation, planning and risk assessments. The UK Comms unit, we have a communications unit for all national parks. This is something that we've been hosting here. It's been in a ticking over mode, but even so, we've undertaken some brand definition and refresh work that's very important, and we're looking at where that unit's going to be hosted in future. Okay, so that's kind of some of the national stuff that goes on that you might not be aware of, just the extent to which we lead. In terms of our own work here, the planning department, what's happening there? We'll look at that planning performance, 2-year planning performance. That's 88% of applications are dealt with within the 8-week limit. The actual target is 70, is it Brian, 70%? So way above that. We've reintroduced our pre-application advice service. That's picking up now, incredibly useful for those trying to go through the planning process. Enforcements, there's always going to be a big caseload in enforcement. We've put effort into that, and we've got the number of enforcement cases on the books down from 528 to 394. There's always going to be a churn because new stuff comes in as you deal with old stuff, but our inquiries are down as well. That's things waiting to be assessed. That's from 243 to 98. So really good work there. The local plan is progressing, and I know you'll know a lot about this, but we're in the stage now. We've done the issues and options consultation. We're looking at the core strategy now and looking to have the plan examined and published next year. There was a really phenomenal response rate, 226 responses through that, with nearly 3,000 points addressed. So great engagement, the best level of engagement we've had. We're currently working through some of the evidence gathering, the carrying capacity of settlements, the design guides, the housing needs and so on. So there's lots of work still going on, but we're looking like we're on track to develop the local plan and have it examined. Huge piece of work. And then some of the achievements through the planning service in terms of listed or buildings that need conservation restoration. Grindon Lime Kiln, great example. It was on the Heritage at Risk list. You can see the photo of how it was just a tumbled down, mess really. And now look at it. It's been restored. There's been FIPL funding there. There's been great cross-team working. Some really innovative use of steel structures to prop it up internally. So it's a grade 2 listed building off the at-risk register, and through using volunteers we've been able to open it up on Heritage Open Days as well. Just one example, as I say, this isn't everything we've done, we're just kind of showcasing stuff here. People of the Peak, really brilliant, working with the foundation, lottery funded, got a development phase to really bring in a huge new cohort of volunteers, heritage volunteers who are going to be trained and then help us assess and monitor and conserve structures, if you like, that reflect the people of the Peak District over past eras. So that's going to give us a better understanding of our heritage sites. There's going to be citizen science and activities, and there's going to be a community grant fund as well as part of that. Archaeological research framework, really great work. Historic England funding this. This is to give us, with the University of Sheffield, a framework for making decisions, understanding what the heritage is there, what our gaps are, how we're going to do research in future, engaging communities, sharing knowledge, informing future bids. So that's a really great piece of work that's going to happen. Landscape Unlocked, another successful funding bid, again with the foundation, Derbyshire Records Office. We've got 44,000 images that no one really sees. So we're going to look at those. That covers the whole kind of 20th century really. We're going to make sure they're stored correctly and safely for the future. We're going to take the best ones, we're going to make them available, we're going to use them as part of the 75th anniversary next year. We're going to produce resources for school. We're really able through this archive to unlock and understand landscape change through the archive, over 100 years or so, and that will also inform future bids, particularly kind of heritage and arts bids. Some amazing images. It's just a snapshot here. We've got some great images over the years. Okay, we're moving into some of the area management we've done. We know all about the pressures there are in particular areas. Brian's led the way really on taking the Castleton area in particular, working with partners, MPs, parishes, highways, county, police, partners like the National Trust, and we're looking at the whole area, the Castleton area, and strategically bringing everyone together, identifying what the potential solutions are and trying to address some of those pressures in a particular area. Active travel plan, you've heard about this during the year, but there are new members here as well who may not have. So we secured money, 100,000 from Active Travel England, and through that we undertook a consultation on developing a high-level network of active travel routes. Loads of engagement. You can see the kind of the map there. This is where people were responding from, and what it's led is to a kind of a wish list of things that can now be done to actually get some of these access improvements, with business cases being developed, feasibility being done, and now we just need the funding for delivery. The Parishes Forum, some of you were at Parishes Forum last year. We also undertake training of parish members as well, particularly in planning. That's been an innovation this year. And the Peak District Business, this is a group of businesses. We've got a new accord. This is about promoting sustainability. It's about promoting networking and sharing. It's one of our roles we play in getting sustainable communities, supporting the business community. The Members Planning Tour, most of you were on that, some of you weren't. It was an absolutely fantastic day recently, really brilliant. We went to Chatsworth. We saw the historic design landscape, we saw the challenge of restoration of things like the cascade and the greenhouses. We went to the quarry, fascinating, and seeing a business operating in the heart of a prestige environment on the edge of heritage, producing resources for kind of conservation. And then obviously we went up onto the moor. We saw some of the visitor pressures there around solstice. And I did want to give a big shout out to Sarah Adams, who wasn't with us, but really made that day happen. And it was a fantastic day where we all learnt a lot. So thank you, Sarah. This is an example of one of the many properties that we own. Often the properties are occupied for years, decades in some cases, lifetimes. And we often don't get a chance to go in and undertake repairs and renovations as much as we'd like. Dale Cottage came up, it's been fully refurbished, reconfigured, environmental enhancements. It looks fantastic now, it's a desirable property, and it was very popular when we recently went to re-let it, and we've got tenants in there now. We've been to Knoll House previously, some members have been there to see another property house that we've upgraded and renovated. This is about the agricultural buildings being more fit for purpose. The new tenants there are very happy with those. And similarly, we've been to Pump Farm, we've seen the house that's been renovated. This stage was about taking the old sheds and the old slurry store and moving the sheds, making them smaller, more fit for purpose, moved along and filling in the old slurry store. So this is all now done, waiting for, we've actually had a tender process for the whole of Pump Farm, the farm and the building, the house and so on, and they're going to be assessed imminently. Accessibility improvements, big part of what we do is about making this place available for everyone. We're here for everyone, we were created for the nation, but not everyone can access for various reasons, and we can't overcome all of those, but we can adapt our camping offer to have an accessible shower, toilet block and shelter down at North Lees. At Parsley Hay we've put in another changing places that we recently opened there. This is transformative for people who can only access the countryside with facilities like this. We're making life-changing difference to people. Thank you again, number of people involved in funding Foundation and others in funding these projects, making them happen. Car parking improvements, we're actually very fortunate as a national park to own car parks. There are some national parks that don't. So we've got car parks, we've really transformed our approach to how we enforce, we've taken it in-house, we've got bylaws changed, and you can see there from the figures, having our own enforcement processes in-house is leading to much more kind of compliance and a much better way of generating income from those who don't choose to park. So that's a real success story, and there's more car park improvements to come in the year ahead. Cresbrook Bridge opening, one of my favourite projects really from the last year, because it was such a great partnership approach. It was about 8 years the bridge at the top was closed, not accessible, dangerous, and a really important link onto the protected, one of the most designated protected pieces of landscape we have, couldn't be accessed from this side of the river, as well as there being some of the most important rock climbing faces that people wanted to access. So working with the foundation, crowdfunding, first time we've tried that, went really well. FIPL, British Mountaineering Council, the Ramblers, all of that led to this really beautiful, that grey bit is actually made out of plastic, okay? Thousands of plastic bottles, reused, 125-year lifespan, and it's just a really lovely project that's making a difference to people. There are other bridge projects we've done as well during the year, I should say. Tree works on the trails, things like ash dieback mean we have no choice, we have to do this. It's something we have to find the money for, but how we do it is really important. And we got some lovely testimonials coming in. People just saying, thank you for the notice, the information. Thank you for doing the work so quickly. And it's going to make this path safer, our trails safer for everyone to use. Our visitor services, we've been doing a lot of work. You all know where we were with visitor services, visitor centres, cycle hire. We had an incredible donor come forward, which has given us time to really develop plans to transform how these operate. And that's in full swing now. So we've got a new staffing structure. We have had to save money. We've got a new working culture, new ways of working. The visitor centres, there's nearly 500,000 people come through the visitor centres. So we are looking at the way we do our retailing. We've got a retailer or a stock merchandising company on board now. We're looking at the products. We carry on working with partners like the Caston Historical Society, and we're looking at digitisation as well and digital services. So that is all work fully in swing at the moment, and alongside that is what we're doing with the cycle hire. You can see that the current kind of performance for hire, this is really important, 22,000 hires, over 500 accessibility hires. You can go to a number of places and hire a bike, but with us you can hire trampers, hand crank bikes, tricycles and so on. Education school groups hiring as well. And what we're going to do very soon for the summit is have a digital booking platform. So that's vital. That's going to mean we are more sure of what business is coming through the door, and we can engage people because we're dealing with them digitally. So that's really good to see. Moors for the Future, incredible, 21 years now of delivery. We could have a whole meeting on Moors for the Future, but I just wanted to highlight here the fact that last year we've concluded the 5-year asset management programme that the water companies have to have. And in that year, through Moors for the Future, we delivered over £10 million worth of work. You can see 30,000 dams, 6.5 million sphagnum plants planted, 31,000 people engaged with, so huge amount over the last 5 years, and we're now entering the AMP8 period, and in this we're looking at doubling the work with the water companies. So we've got plans for over £20 million worth of work, restoration, flood prevention. So this creates habitats, it preserves carbon in the soil, it reduces flooding, it improves water quality, it creates science, citizen engagement. It's just Moors for the Future. We should all be very proud of the work that we enable there through this authority. Farming and Protected Landscapes has been one of the flagship transition programmes as we've exited the European Union Common Agricultural Policy. I think it's been fantastic as a way of getting money into protected landscapes, particularly this national park where we've had the highest allocation. We've had locally assessed local assessment kind of criteria. We have a local assessment farmer-led panel. You can see the number of projects, nearly 500 projects. You can see they're spread across the whole national park, and you can see that they cover quite relatively equally. They cover the different things we're trying to achieve: climate, nature, people, place. So £7.5 million allocated and still going for another year. So we're really pleased with the kind of transformation. Just going to highlight a few of them. You will have seen some of these before, but something like Milling Low Grange, this shows you with a scheme like this, over a number of years, you can build a relationship, you can build change. You can start with maybe restoring a hay meadow. You can then build that in future years into more. You can then look at an agreement because you know the farmers around a permissive path to access a really important cultural heritage site. You can then get into more restoration, and this is quite common with a lot of these FIPL projects. We're able to work, we've got trusted advisors who get to know the people, they understand the context. So at Upper Booth Farm started with hedges and water supply to enable rotational grazing. We then get into support for traditional cattle and conservation grading. We then get into hay meadow restoration. We get into building conservation to allow farm diversification. So Hayfield, a really lovely farmer group there, brought them together. It's around knowledge sharing, carbon audits, then assessing farm businesses, transitioning into more diversity, producing resources for education. local nature recovery, that's done by counties. We've got 6, so we are required to support all 6 of those strategies. Huge amount of work, real opportunity to influence. Thank you to the members who sit on those panels. They're kind of coming through now in a staged way within the counties for approval. But what we've also done is created our own local nature recovery plan. We didn't want 6 kind of strategies that didn't talk to each other or didn't link up. So we've got one plan for the national park area. It's divided into these 10 themes. And our next challenge now is to create the action plan, and where opportunities come up for future funding, we'll be able to go to that action plan. We will have identified the actions that are needed to deliver the recovery plan. We have a landscape recovery project. So this is a long-term, the idea is it's a long-term government funding for recovery over a whole landscape. So Morridge Hill is our landscape recovery project. That's in full swing. You can see there's lots of different land holdings, land types, and they're being connected up, and you can see the AI image there of how we're using that to help. And it's about more sustainable types of farming and land use. It's about diversification. It's about looking at how green financing can come in as well. Championing national parks for everyone. This is joint with North York Moors and Yorkshire Dales, working with Peak District Mosaic. Again, I'm just giving you the highlights. There's lots that's happened, but as well as doing activities and engagement, and you can see the kind of groups who are coming out, we're also training community champions, and we're on the 2nd or 3rd batch of community champions who themselves go on to lead communities, and those champions are now leading their own groups into the national park. So that's been fantastic. We're doing, navigation training there, activities, education. The Peak District Youth Impact Collective, we had them up here at a recent authority meeting. So this has been a really great piece of work where we've worked with a group of young people, built their capacity, had them at training workshops. They're creating what they want, and they're developing a plan, and it was really brilliant to see them at the Future Countryside Conference recently at Chatsworth, up there, huge audience, speaking very powerfully and passionately about young people and what their issues are. So that's really great, and that's going to carry on forward. We're looking at their, how they can help us with the 75th as well. We have done an awful lot with schools and education work. We have learning outside the classroom status. We've had over 9,000 young people through our education centres. We have access to nature programmes, the Ambassador Schools programme, huge amount going on here. Remembering this has been an area that has been really hit this year with the kind of cuts we've had to make. And despite those cuts and the impact that has on capacity and morale, they have achieved a huge amount. Really passionate staff and volunteers delivering that and carrying on delivering that. And you can see that we are moving now to more externally funded delivery of our engagement work. We've got the Moorland Discovery Centre, which in partnership with the National Trust, they're taking that on. That will carry on. Landscape Discovery Centre, we've been there 20 years, I think, or 25 years. That's carrying on with support of Water Company. The Ambassadors Project, that's been recently reviewed. There's plans to expand that further. So there's a lot more in the pipeline, partly because we've created this engagement manager post to go out there and see where the opportunities are to bring more external funding in. We do a lot of work with diverse communities. There's the Champion National Parks for everyone. We've had Black Nature in Residence, Dal Kumar. But we've also had a piece of work that's been done across all the national parks with the Soil Collective, which has been around understanding what a sense of belonging means and getting some principles of belonging. I think we still need to do some more work on how we bring them more into our work here as an authority. Health and wellbeing work, again, been affected by our funding, but carried on with our nature prescriptions. We've even issued nature prescriptions to our own staff and done kind of wellbeing walks, but we've got the Peaks of Health programme going on. So we do work to prevent people kind of getting ill physically or mentally, and that's getting them out. We do restorative work, and then we do the Excel. That's kind of taking what we do and learn and embedding it in other organisations for them to help address health and wellbeing issues. Ranger guided walks. Have any of our members been on a ranger guided walk? Yep, great. Well, they're rangers or volunteer rangers. They're incredible. So I do urge you to have a look at that and go on one if it's of interest to you. So that's a really nice way of taking the knowledge and the passion we have and sharing it and getting people not just to have a walk, but to really, as they're walking, understand, connect with the landscape, connect with the history and the nature. We have submitted our Landscape Connections bid. This is the biggest ever pool of money the lottery have put together in one go, so we can bid for up to 10 million. And we've worked with our partners this year. We've submitted our bid. We're waiting to hear. This is to restore nature along the trails in the White Peak. There's often the farm habitat around the White Peak can be quite lacking in nature richness, so we're going to enrich the nature, create corridors, bigger spaces, more connected spaces, but that's where people already are on the trails, so we'll get people closer to nature. So we're waiting to hear August time or so on that one. We have our Morridge Hill Landscape Recovery Project that was funded. One that didn't quite make the cut was White Peak Landscape Recovery, but with Natural England, with our own funding, we've carried on with that group of farmers. It's really important that they continue to come together to learn, farmer-led engagement, site visits, and we're hoping to submit that to the next round of landscape recovery. I won't say much on biodiversity net gain because if anyone actually survives this heat today, the members forum will be talking about biodiversity net gain. So we'll go into that. It's an important issue for us. You know what the kind of requirements are that are set. The questions for us are, to what extent do we get involved with this? How can we, should we become a responsible body? How can we support others? Can we use conservation covenants to get the gains from development elsewhere into the national park? And we've been doing quite a lot of work with the moorland community. We had a retreat bringing together estates and landowners with environmental organisations. The great outcome from that was we all agree with what the vision is for a healthy upland moorland. We don't necessarily agree with the ways in which we achieve that, but we're starting the conversation, we're talking, we're trying to learn from each other, and then as well as that we have a small group of environmental NGOs who get together as well and look at what can be achieved together. So that's all very positive. The Landscape Observatory, you will have heard about that. This is a great example of the leadership we provide, the relationships we can have with government, opening up £500,000 to develop this observatory, our cutting edge AI work that we've done that you'll have seen in the past, and how we can roll that out across a much wider range of landscapes, how it can be used in adaptation with the changes that are coming, and how we can just kind of monitor that. So I won't say more about that, you've heard about that in the past. The Fire Officers Training Group, really important. I don't know what the number is now, but a couple of weeks ago it was nearly 40 wildfires this year in the Peak District. It's probably higher now. Some of them really significant. And what we do with this group, because we've got a number of different fire services, because we're so kind of complex, so we bring all the different services together, the moorland owners, the partners, and we do training, we do mock exercises, so we actually put the whole command unit on site. There's a mock fire, and how do we respond to that? And then we had this, thanks to Moors for the Future, getting this kind of fire risk indicator. We trialled that to see what impact that had. It's hard to know what impact that had at the height of a heat wave and drought where there were loads of fires, but we've got to try new things. Okay, we're nearly there. Just celebrating a couple of things we've celebrated this year. The Pennines Way, which starts in Edale and goes 200 and something odd miles north. It was the 60th anniversary, and I was up there with Ken and others. We have a ranger, Martin Sharp, who spent pretty much 30 years working on the Pennines Way, making it accessible for millions of people. So that was really great to recognise that. And Sue Smith won the first ever Paul Hamblin Award nationally, and that was for her access work. So that was really brilliant as well. This was one of the visits we hosted. This was taking nearly 30 people from DEFRA into the Castleton area, showing them the cycle hire that we do, allowing them to do some active travel, getting to Castleton, getting on the accessible tramper. These are people who sit in their homes and work, or they're in offices and they work, and they make decisions about what happens in this national park. And it was so brilliant to get them into the national park, to see, to experience, and to thank them for the work they do, maybe processing payments, but that allows people to access the national park in this way. Okay, the kind of engagement work that I do has been successful this year with the road shows. We've done a huge number of road shows. We have a newsletter for the regional leaders. We've done a lot of media activity. Our engagement, we've been through a difficult time. We've had organisational change. You can see some of the stats, have declined or gone backwards. But I think that's understandable in the context of what we've been doing in terms of, employee engagement and recommending us as a place to work. But really pleased to say the volunteering numbers have really held up and improved. And actually, if you think what we've been through and the scale of change and cuts we've had to make, to then still get a gold award, move from silver to gold as investing in people, has been a real achievement, and to be silver wellbeing award as well. We've done, we do a lot to try and motivate and engage and share. We've revamped the staff committee. We have a tea break once a week where if you're in the building at that time and you're going to have a brew anyway at your desk, come into the shared space, have it together, and we've introduced show and tells that have been really good for highlighting work that people are doing. We've added wellbeing into our health and safety work. We've got a new equality plan. And last year, we had a corporate volunteering day. So we offered everyone the opportunity to spend a day at work, but volunteering for something in the national park. And we had 124 people do that. Really great projects, really fun. I did tree planting up in North Leeds, and all sorts of projects were done. The training academy, this is only just over a year old, and in that time we've had 5 traineeships, 8 apprenticeships, 1 student placement, and we've got a load more to come as well. And the 2 who've kind of completed the training academy, one has gone on to start their own business in that area, and one's gone on to get a successful position with us. So it's good for us to have the training academy. It's delivering extra capacity, it's delivering energy, dynamism, but it's good for the sector as well, because the people who don't get roles with us after their training position here will go on to other roles locally. The volunteering programme has gone from strength to strength. It was already really good. They have their big annual celebration and training day at Lady Manners. This new approach to volunteering, this new calendar is really superb, because we used to compartmentalise volunteers, recruit them, train them, then they could do that, right? They couldn't do this or this. Now, anyone, we say, just come and volunteer with us. What are your interests? What do you need to know? And all of these different options are open to you. And it's helping us diversify our volunteers and grow the amount of volunteering that we do. One of the things we've grown is the volunteer welcome hosts. Our ideal is to have a whole load of welcoming volunteers in our visitor centres, in our car parks, at the hotspots, to welcome, explain and engage. And that's just getting off to a start now, and it's going very well. You can see the kind of number of days of volunteering, 10,000 days of volunteering. It's incredible. PPCV, that's our Peak Park Conservation Volunteers. Just look at this before and after photo down here. It's the biggest project they've ever undertaken, FIPL funded, woodland planting. This Winster Miners Path is incredible. This was kind of a historic path that the lead miners would travel. I think it had got covered, pretty much covered and overgrown. Backbreaking work, a really important kind of trail across the landscape, and the heritage re-established. Nearly there. Governance, working group that was one of the most fought after elections this morning was to be on the ongoing working group, so that was great to see. But that group last year did incredible work in thinking about how we improve our governance. We've got Mandy as our first ever boardroom apprentice, which is great. A behind the scenes project, the digitisation project, was really addressing an important issue. We've got 75 years worth of paper files in the basement that if this kind of building went up would be lost, all the planning records, and they're also quite hard to access. So we're digitising all of that, making it accessible, making it safer. And then we introduced for Pride Month, we introduced this rainbow logo. The Peak District Foundation, I won't say too much because Rasheen's going to say more about that, but just look at those numbers. Great partnership working with the foundation. I've mentioned a number of the projects today that have been funded through the foundation, so we're really pleased with that, but Rasheen will take any questions and say more on the basis of her report there. And that's it really. I just want to finish by, again, how I started, thanking the staff and the volunteers who've delivered all of that incredible work. It is just a snippet. I apologise to those whose work has not been covered. We can't show you everything, but I'm really proud of what we have achieved, and some stuff you may not have been aware of. It is the outcome of your decision making, your leadership allows us to deliver all of that. So thank you very much.
Thanks ever so much, Phil. I hope that a lot of what Phil has instanced in that presentation resonates with members in terms of the decisions that we've made in the past, the issues that members have raised, and I think the scary bit is that that's but a proportion of the work that we do. When you consider the resources that we have at our disposal, the numbers of staff we have, I think it's incredible to see so many projects, so many of which have, like the Landscape Observatory, have national significance in their potential as well as in the things they will deliver. So I hope members that you join me in thanking Phil and passing on our thanks to all members of staff who engage in the conservation management of the national park over the year, and both past and present. So thank you very much indeed. I think we'd better move hastily on as time, as ever, progresses to agenda item 12 in that case, the Chief Exec's report. Is there anything additional that you want to make, Phil? In which case, it is a report usually to be noted, but are there any key questions that anyone wishes to ask? Patrick Brady.
Have we had anything, perhaps more recently than this report was written, about the carbon capture project that was announced earlier this week?
Sorry, which announcement was that this week?
Rachel Reeves announced something like about £29 million for a carbon capture project to take carbon from the Hope Valley into the North Sea.
Yeah, the Peak Cluster project. There's been nothing that's come to me this week. I don't know if Brian's in the room still, has heard anything. No. So it's that's. I'll have to look at that, Patrick. I mean, if that's funding for that project, we know about the project and have been working with them. It was going to be dependent on funding, so it'll be interesting to see that announcement. I'll have to look at that. Thank you.
Okay. If there's nothing further, can I suggest? Do we have a yes? Recommendation is that the report is noted. Can I have a proposer for that? Andrew Lee, seconded. Thank you very much. All those in favour? Thank you. Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you, members. We move on to agenda item 13 in that case, the Peak District National Park Foundation annual report. Rasheen, would you like to come to the head of the table, as it were? Perhaps if you want to occupy that, but near the microphone there. So, members, as ever, we'll assume that members have read the report and taken it on board. Are there any questions of Rasheen about the Foundation's work? It looks like you're getting away with it this time. If there aren't any questions, I would like to thank Roisin for the work that she oversees as the Chief Executive of the Foundation, and the range of projects that have been developed, are being developed, and the benefits that accrue to not just the National Park Authority, but to the National Park and communities within and around. So thank you very much indeed. So it's get out while you're ahead, I would suggest. So can we have a mover for the recommendation, please? Andrew Hart, Simon Thompson seconded. All those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? What about those are the recommendations? We've done it. We've done it. It's okay. Thank you, members. So we move on to agenda item 14, the targets and outcome framework. And I have asked Simon Geeky, who's the author of the report, to say a few words just to remind members of the context of this and why we appear to be approving a plan that has some huge holes in it. So Simon.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, we've talked with members quite a lot about the targets, protected landscape targets and outcomes frameworks. Just as a reminder, these targets come through from the National Environment Improvement Plan, and the decision was made at a government level to apportion some of those targets across the whole of the protected landscapes family. So that's all the English national parks, all 10 English national parks, and 36 odd national landscapes as well, all sort of shared out some of these targets. It's actually quite a difficult thing to do, and that's reflected, I think, in what's actually happened to the process as we've gone through. Some of the targets they have found very difficult to provide baseline data for. There are three of the targets which you can see in the attached table. We have been asked to apportion a target to ourselves, and in some cases we've had to do that without any refreshed source data. So we've had to take a sort of a set, I think, what is a sort of measured view as to what target we've set for ourselves, and it has been accepted in the discussions we've had with Natural England and with DEFRA and throughout the Protected Landscapes family that those targets will evolve as we move through time. So the reason we're asking you to approve a half-empty table is that some of these things are evolving as we go through time. We are still waiting on some of the data. Some of the data has gone back, and we don't know when we're going to get that because we're having nationally people having a bit of a better think about that. As Phil mentioned, we're part of the Joint Information Group now, which is a restart of an old group that looked at national data for national parks, and one of the remits of that group is to take a closer look at the Protected Landscapes Targets and Outcome Framework targets and communicate back to DEFRA what we think may be a better way of looking at some of those or to refine some of those things. One of the really useful things that's come out of the targets is for the first time we've got a national set of features which we're being told that there is interest in. So we've never had that sort of pressure put, that kind of information put into our management plans before. And again, we've had some workshops talking about how we might take that sort of stuff forward. So apologies for bringing you a half-finished table. We will be updating that table as we go through time, and as we discussed at the recent members forum, what we will do in the rest of this year and into next is do some much more closer working with partners as we get that baseline data, and we will update this table, and when we know where we are with it, we'll come back to members probably in about a year's time and say to actually present where we are with our own targets and how that might fit into our next version of the management plan as well, the action plan to deliver those targets. Okay, thanks ever so much, Simon. Members, any comments or questions of Simon? Matt Buckler and then Simon Thompson. And Rachel and Patrick.
So this is... It'd be interesting. Phil talked about the One Plan for Nature and the local nature recovery strategies. How are these all being integrated together? Because the LNRSs are ongoing. The One Plan for Nature hasn't really moved on and hasn't got targets in it. How are these all going to be integrated together?
That's a great question, Matt. Which would take a very long time to answer, but in brief, what we're looking at with local nature recovery strategies is the local nature recovery strategies aren't necessarily being done in the same way. They are not done, they weren't written and haven't been written with reference to the national targets that have been set up through the Protected Landscapes Targets and Outcomes framework. So there's a bit of national work to be done there to actually understand how we link that up. And the way for us to link that up is absolutely through the management plan, because that's what everyone is now referred back to as a reference point, all so-called relevant authorities. That's people appointed by government or with local councils, water companies, all those kinds of things have to look to the management plan. And so my thought is that our way to unravel some of that lack of connection is actually through the management plan, which will be informed by the action plan that comes out of our local nature recovery plan. So there's some work to be done nationally, I think, to understand how local nature recovery strategies actually speak to the targets and outcomes framework, which is a discussion I've already started with DEFRA and some of others. So I was at the National Landscapes Conference this week with all of the national landscapes, the old areas of outstanding natural beauty, and it was a fairly serious topic of conversation there. DEFRA people were there as well, as were Natural England. So that conversation is starting, I think. So sorry, it's a bit of a complicated answer, but yeah, there's definite desire to do that. I think we can do that through the management plan, but I think we need to understand how that works at a national level with local nature recovery strategies.
Thank you, Simon. I think that emphasises even more the importance of the National Park Management Plan and the partnership delivery. So yeah, thank you. Simon Thompson.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. We, as you say, we've discussed this before, and we're being asked to approve a whole series of targets here, which have got huge gaps in them. I mean, it's a slightly curious exercise we're being asked to undertake. But even where we actually have some data on what the targets are we're trying to approve, they are extraordinarily ambitious. I mean, if you convert these into annual targets, 175 hectares of wildlife rich habitats created every year, 250 hectares every year of woodland. What about resourcing? I mean, it's sort of meaningless to be approving these targets without a corresponding financing plan that will enable us to deliver them.
Yeah, we haven't got the detail behind some of those things. The woodlands target was I think, very close consultation with the Forestry Commission. So those are targets which they see as being attainable, and we can probably push those a bit in time. So that particular target I've got pretty strong confidence in via the Forestry Commission. The habitats target, as we discussed at the workshop, the target one there, we took a very pragmatic view of that target. In fact, the target we've set here is far lower than the apportionment target it was suggested we would meet. I think we had a target of something like 11 or 12,000 hectares. Basically what the calculation there for those that weren't involved in the workshops was they literally just shared it out pro rata amongst all the landscapes. So there was no real consideration as to what was actually in the landscape, which ended up with obviously with the places like the Norfolk Broads being given a target for things that they don't actually have in the Norfolk Broads. So we had to sort of unravel some of that. But yes, the habitats target is still ambitious. It still is difficult because much of our landscape is actively farmed land, and that is that's the work we do through FIPL, through working on elms and those sorts of things when that scheme comes back in, and it's long, lengthy work. We've got some really good partners out amongst the farming community, and I think we can meet that target. But it is ambitious. It is tricky, definitely.
Indeed.
So, Simon, are you saying you feel you have got adequate resources to meet these targets?
I think through the forestry one, yes. I think the farming one is, we will know whether or not we've got adequate resources when the Elms scheme rolls out. We don't know yet, and Sue will hopefully better step in and help me out here. We don't know yet what is actually happening with Elms. We don't know yet what is happening with SFI in terms of the actual money going in the apportionment. There's been a lot of discussion which Sue and her team have been leading on in terms of how we might be able to shape Elms within protected landscapes, and I don't think that's quite a tricky conversation and quite a long one. So yeah, there's some uncertainty there, but I think we have to think of some sort of target. We have to have some ambition for our landscape. If we don't meet that target, then the costings exercise, which we do need to go through, we need to express the gap between what we would like to do and what we can do, and then elevate that up to the decision-making environment above us and say, well, this is what we've set, this is what you want us to do. Get your checkbook out. It's that sort of stuff, really.
And I suspect, if I may, that some of the resourcing is not dependent on our resourcing, but on that's provided by Forestry England, by DEFRA through Elms initiatives and things like that. So, there's, and at the same time, I think that if, as Simon has implied in the end of his comment, if we're required to provide and to do these things, we have ourselves to be adequately resourced. So I think it's a two-edged sword. But yeah, okay. Rachel Bennett.
Thank you, Chair. Simon, I know you've just described and you went through the calculations at the forum, and we've had a few workshops about Target 1 and just how that's been apportioned across the different national parks. So our suggested apportion was 11,000 something hectares, wasn't it? And the target in this is 3,000. Do we know if nationally the groups of national parks have achieved the overall target? Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Rachel. We do. Yeah, we've got a collection of the apportioned targets. Those 3 apportioned targets have all been summed up, and nationally, we're exceeding the target that was expected of us nationally. I think there's a question mark over how we all got to those numbers, because we didn't necessarily get to them the same way. And I'm trying to start that conversation as well, because I think at some point, and it's some of the work that the observatory can do, but it's also some of the work that I think the targets and outcomes framework stuff needs to look at, is how do we actually get that to an even keel, so that we all know that we're saying things in the same way on the same baseline data and making sure that works. But yes, at the moment, all those targets are actually being exceeded.
Okay, thank you, Simon. Patrick Brady.
Yes, thank you,
okay,
Chairman.
Ruth.
I must confess, it's the sort of report that sends me to bed with a headache at times. I'm not sure that I really understand what I'm reading, to be quite honest with you. But if I can just pick up 1 or 2 points. When this thing talks about target indicators, that's not a target in itself, is it? That is the matter that will be measured, and that somehow, somewhere else, somebody sets a target. How does it work?
Yeah, so sorry, Patrick. Yeah. So where a target, for instance, let's look at target aim 1, the target 1 we're talking about, which is about wildlife-rich habitat restored within protected landscapes, but outside of SSIs. That is based on a large thing called the Priority Habitats Inventory. So that's like a long list of different habitats that have been mapped in the landscape. So those little sub-indicators are kind of what that refers to in that sort of thing. So that is an aggregate, that 3,000 hectares I've put in here is an aggregate measure across a whole set of habitats. So each of those habitats will be measured in a different way.
Well, I think my question is following on from Simon's point about to what extent do we actually, well, 2 questions. The first one is, to what extent do we have the sort of level of information that is required to fulfill some of these measurements? Because it seems to me that in some areas, for example, particularly in terms of heritage and so on, I don't know whether such information is available. And to what extent does this affect our existing management plan? It seems to me that it's going to be changing the priorities of some of the things that we do. And I'm not sure that I understand where that's going. Apart from that, I would have otherwise asked the questions that Simon has asked.
No, thanks, Patrick. That's really fair questions. So in terms of the measurement of these targets, that is being done by the listed data providers. So for most of the habitat stuff, that's being done by Natural England. And then a lot of the other targets come out through DEFRA. So we are relying on those national measures of what we are doing on the ground and seeing those results nationally. And that's where we're in quite a lot of discussion loops about how that actually works, because as you'll remember from some of the discussions around the AI project and the precision that's available to us through that is very different to the precision that's available nationally. So there's some work to be done there, but it's not us measuring this stuff, I guess, is the simple answer to the first part of your question. In terms of its relationship to the existing management plan, it lines up fairly loosely with the current aims and objectives in the management plan, and we're fairly comfortable that that's okay and that we've got things we can do with that. I think in terms of the next management plan, as I started to discuss at the next member training, and we haven't gone into the detail of that as a group yet, what this starts to say about the next management plan is actually it's going to be focused on features in the landscape and the condition of those features in the landscape. Can we go about creating condition change? So in the same way, for instance, that Moors for the Future focus on transforming degraded bog and on the journey towards active bog, that's changing a habitat feature from a highly degraded state to a very good condition. And that's what we need to think about for the other sets of features we've got across the landscape. So it's a slightly different way, it's quite a different way of thinking about National Park Management Plan, because the National Park Management Plans and the National Landscape Management Plans at the moment are partnership ambition documents. What can you do? What can we do? What can we work together on? I think there's going to be a shift in management planning to, okay, what's actually being achieved with regard to the important things in the landscape. And that's a shift in emphasis in management planning.
One further follow-up on that, Chairman. So when we get on, for example, to aim 3, enhancing beauty heritage engagement with the natural environment, and it's to be considered, I presume, that won't be English nature or anybody. Somebody else will be measuring that, won't they?
So that particular target has gone through a transition from being related to the Access for All programme, which Phil talked a little bit about up there. It was then recognised that the Access for All programme was a short-term programme, and it's about engagement. That whole target's about engagement. So that whole thing has gone back for re-evaluation, because measuring that kind of engagement process, comprehension of beauty, comprehension of landscape value, all that sort of stuff, is actually a very tricky thing to do. So we've pushed that back as a collective to sort of say, we think this needs to be rediscussed. So our lead, we've got a couple of CEOs leading that discussion with DEFRA. That's been pushed back to sort of say, let's have a rethink about how we do that. And I think that one's probably going to be the ones that needs to evolve even more so than some of the others through time. We might start off with a relatively simple course measure and hopefully work towards something which is much more nuanced. But it is actually rather hard to do.
Okay, thank you, Simon. Ruth Swetnam next, and then Ken Rustich and Rachel.
Thank you, Chair. So with respect to the indicator of peat under restoration in the protected landscapes, is the area of peat committed for restoration listed in the Peak District stats column, is that just the stuff that Moors for the Future are doing? And are there any other bodies in the national park area that are doing any other peat restoration? So it's sort of understanding is that all within our kind of remit, or are there other people involved in that? So that's my first.
That figure comes from Moors for the Future's understanding of what is going on in the Peak District.
So it isn't all them?
As I understand it, it isn't all them, it's their understanding of what is going on. It was what was going on at that time as well, so it doesn't include the ambition that's now coming through AMP8, which is the stuff that they've got the 20 million quid for. So that figure will need to change once we understand that, but at the time of creating this table, we didn't know about those things. And we weren't really sure that the England peat map hadn't come out either, and that peat map has now come out. There's been some lively debate about the quality of the England peat map. So that when that one unravels, and we've got a better indication of what Moors and the other partners that work on peatland in the Peak District are going to do with AMP8 and those kind of funding schemes, then that figure will inevitably go up, I think.
So I note that we've got another approximately 1,500 hectares to be committed by 2028. These are really, as Simon said, these are really ambitious targets, and it's sort of understanding which of that is within the remit of the things we have control over or not. I'd be really interested to see how the other national parks are doing, considering they don't have a fantastic body like Moors for the Future.
That's 4,000 hectares by 2028. The nearly 15 is by 2050, I think. So
very ambitious, isn't it? Yeah, thank you.
I would comment on the ambition of targets, that we're always being told that targets should be ambitious. There is a point beyond which they become ridiculous, of course, but ambition is one thing. Okay. Ken Rustich.
Yeah. I mean, who actually set the targets specifically? In the case you alluded to of Norfolk, the Norfolk Broads were set a target on something they haven't actually got. Did someone not sort of done the homework on that one?
I think the best way of viewing the way the original targets was apportioned was it was there to start a conversation. So a very dry desk exercise was done, was that, right, there are 10 national parks, we want this much peat, there it goes, sort of thing. We want this much woodland, there it goes. So I think it was there to start a conversation. I think probably a better starting job on reflection could have been done by somebody, but that started the conversation at the very least. So I think the original apportionment is a bit of a red herring. We could talk about that for days and probably it wouldn't really help us very much. If that's okay, Ken.
Okay, thank you, Simon. Rachel, and then I think we must move on.
Just given the lack of detail in the table for completely understandable reasons in that it's extremely complicated, would it be sensible to maybe amend the recommendations so that, because it says at the moment we want to approve the targets set out in Appendix 1 and incorporate them into the management plan and then delegate it to the head of resources to amend and update, but it doesn't then say anything about that coming back for approval. And I know you've kind of alluded to it, but we've not made it explicit. And I think that, for me, that feels like something that we should have in there. If we're sort of approving a half-empty table, it would be good to know explicitly that it is going to come back and we are going to see it. Thanks.
Well, you wouldn't be. If you're not happy, you wouldn't be delegating the authority to amend that if you required it to come back to you for approval. At what point do you want it to come back to you to approve?
I think when the boxes are completed and we can comment on what's in there would be very helpful.
What would the effect of any delay be?
Given that this is likely to be piecemeal in the way, just why the second...
This will be piecemeal, but it will, when it will come back to members probably is at the time of, when we do the update of the management plan each year. So we report on the management plan. So I would envisage it being within that report. So at the end of this financial year, any progress we've made will appear in that financial plan, that management plan report, and at the following year at the same point. Implicitly, if there's anything substantial happens, we'll come back to you. It's that's we need to anyway. But in terms of filling out the table and refining the targets, I would see that as part of the normal management plan reporting cycle.
I think as well, if I may, that the speed of change is likely not to be awfully rapid. So I think that annual, if members were comfortable, I think that annual reporting back is probably appropriate given the staggered nature of the way in which these issues are going to be coming our way, and their not just the incorporation, but then the actions that develop from them.
I think what I'm uncomfortable with is approving something that we don't have full sight on, and then it never reappearing.
Yeah, I think that's not the intention of the recommendation. That's during the course of progress between those at least annual updates to membership through authority. If members are comfortable with that, then we can certainly commit.
I don't know, Angela, I'd be very comfortable to add a line that this will continue to be reported through the management plan reporting process or something like that.
We could make a noting comment that this detail is included in that annual report. Is that okay?
That's satisfactory for me, thank you.
Okay, thanks for that, Rachel. In that case, members, we have recommendations before us. Can I have someone to move those recommendations? Andrew Hart, thank you. Andrew Gregory seconded. All those in favour, show of hands. Any abstentions? 2 abstentions. Any against? Thank you, members. That recommendation has been moved. We move on now to agenda item 15, and Sinead Butler will be joining us to answer any questions or comments. Thank you, Sinead and members. Agenda item 15 then, financial outturn and reserve appropriation for 24-25. The report and its appendices are before you. Any questions or comments of Sinead? Simon Thompson.
Yeah, I think we discussed at the last authority meeting whether there was need for scrutiny of this type of report by a subcommittee that had more time available. I think this report demonstrates where that is actually essential. It's just not a good use of the entire authority's time to be going through this line by line.
Okay, point taken, and we did commit to monitoring, didn't we not?
Yeah, if I may, I
It is my understanding that this will sit in resources, though, because this is outturn.
No, that was rejected at the last meeting. We approved a set of terms of reference for the Resources Committee that excluded this, and there's a reference in the minutes to it being reviewed, but there's no purpose set out in the minutes about what that review will consist of. I would suggest you're a bit more specific, that the Governance Committee should review those arrangements and see whether it's appropriate for a subcommittee to scrutinise the details of this type of return.
That's fair enough.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, that's agreed. That is what was agreed at the previous meeting, and we are, that is our intention as officers. We have a meeting scheduled to look at that, and we'll bring it to the governance review group.
And we can make sure that it's recorded in these minutes.
Yeah.
That is the way forward. Yep. Thank you, Simon. Are there any other comments or questions? In which case, we have a recommendation before us. Andrew, thank you. Any seconding? Anyone seconding? Andrew Gregory, thank you. All those in favour adopting? Any against? Any abstentions? 2, 3 abstentions. Thank you, members. In that case, we move on to agenda item 16, Internal Audit Report, Block 2 for 24-25. Thomas Absalon, who has been sat quietly in the corner for the duration of our meeting, is here from Verito to answer any questions, comments, as is Sinead Butler, who I suspect will hand them hastily on to Thomas. But members, are there any comments or questions regarding the Internal Audit Report? Simon Thompson.
It's related to my previous comment, but in the charter, which starts on slide 129, there's reference on at the end.
That's the next. That's the next agenda item. Yep, that's the next agenda item, Simon. But I shall. I've got your name down already. Don't worry. Are there any comments on this particular item? In which case, members, we have a recommendation before us. Andrew Hart moved it. Seconded. Anyone, please? Andrew Gregory. All those in favour? Show of hands. Thank you. Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you, members. That item is moved. We move on now to agenda item 17, the Internal Audit Annual Report for 24-25, if I can but find it. Again, Thomas is here to respond to any questions or comments. I'm encouraged in paragraph 2.2 that we have received substantial assurance, which is as good as it gets, as far as I can see. Members, there are no additions to the report. Any comments or questions? Simon Thompson.
Thank you, Chair. So the Charter for Internal Audit attaches as an appendices slide 140, which sets out the relationship between the Audit Committee and internal audit, and sets some pretty clear objectives for what the Audit Committee should be doing. Can someone explain to me whether that is an executive committee or whether that is a subcommittee of the authority?
I think for the purpose of the report, but Thomas will confirm that the Audit Committee, as is noted earlier in the reports, is the authority itself at the moment. Yeah, but Thomas, if you want to...
Yes. Yeah, that's correct in the definitions section.
Can you just point me to that? Where is that?
Sorry, I'll just find the reference. Section 3. So under our standards, we have to refer to the board, and in this case, that's the Audit Committee, which is this committee, the National Park Authority. So paragraph 3.2.
Got it. Okay, thank you. So that yes, potentially that one needs to be.
It conforms with our current arrangement, governance arrangement, yeah, albeit one that's under review again. Are there any other comments or questions of members? Ken Richardson?
It's on this last subject. Just for clarity, we did vote the Audit Committee out of existence last meeting.
Indeed. but we did say we would review what the impact of that would be as time progressed. So yeah, thank you, Ken. In the absence of any further comments or questions, again, members, we have recommendation before us. Can I have a mover for that? Simon Mabbott, thank you. And seconder? Ken Rustage, thank you. Show of hands, all those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? 1, 2, 3, 4 abstentions. Thank you, members. That has been approved. We now move on to agenda item 18, a verbal report from the Chair of Planning Committee. Patrick Brady. Thank you, Sinead.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thanks, Thomas.
We had a very simple meeting at our last meeting, and nothing very spectacular came up at all. Perhaps the most interesting application we had was for Brooklands, an early 19th century sort of stately home on the edge of Bakewell, which has been derelict for a very long time and is beginning to suffer from the impact of being empty over that time. And we have approved a restoration scheme for the house itself, and three brand new houses to a brand new design in different parts of the site, including the walled garden, part of the old mill that used to be there, and so on and so forth. These are not traditional buildings by any stretch of the imagination. Time will tell whether they are the heritage of the future or they are not. But everybody will have a different view on that, I'm sure, once they're built. But that is the only significant application we had at the last meeting.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Patrick. Next item, agenda item 19 then, is the report from the Chair of P&R Committee, as was, Resources Committee as is. Charles, in Janet's absence, does that fall to you?
I guess it does, but I can't even think of what to report on, to tell you the truth.
It was the last one was cancelled, wasn't it? You're absolutely right. Yeah, so you let off the hook. But
that's handy.
but thanks to Mandy for reminding all of us. Right, moving hastily on. In that case, we have agenda item 20, 2 reports from outside bodies. One from courtesy of Martin Beer on the Local Access Forum, and one from myself on Derbyshire Archaeological Advisory Committee. I have asked for the benefit of all members, but particularly those who have been appointed to represent the authority at outside bodies, that the template for the feedback report is forwarded to everyone, obviously for those who have been appointed to use as appropriate, other members just for information if you might have need of them. I don't think there's anything to add to the Local Access Forum report, Martin. And the only thing I would add from the DAAC report is in item 2, the report of the grants. Obviously that was reported from the perspective of the Cultural Heritage team, but it does, I think, underline the partnership work, because that is featured as a reportage both from Rusheen and the Foundation's work, and form parts of Phil's report back as well. So it's good to see that integrated and partnership approach within the organisation benefiting with such financial successes. I think we have to note, thank you, just note those reports. Can we just note those members? Can I have a proposer to note them? Andrew Hart, thank you. Seconder, Andrew Gregory, thank you. All those in favour of noting? Thank you very much. Any abstentions? Any against? No, thank you. We move on to agenda item 21 then, which is we are asked to exempt the public from sorry, there isn't any part B. No, there is no part B, so I'm at a loss to understand why agenda item 21 is there. So we can scrap agenda item 21 because we are concluded. So members, lunch for those who are staying on is provided in the garden room.